Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna. Today we will be discussing Bhagavad Gita as it is, chapter 5, text 26. Kama Krodha Vimuktanam Yatinam Yatachetasam Abhito Brahma Nirvanam Vartate Viditatmanam. So here Krishna continues to explain the symptoms of a self-realized person, how he finds the happiness within, and by dint of which he becomes liberated. And we have seen in the previous verse how the sign of liberation is that they are freed from all sinful reactions and they are free of doubt about the supremacy of Krishna. And in this verse, it is explained how they are free from kama krodha. Kama krodha vimuktanam. That person who is self realized must be free of kama krodha. Kama krodha vimuktanam. Yatinam. That person is a self realized. Yati means typically a renounced order of life person. Here Prabhupada also calls as self-realized person or a saintly person. Yata chetasam, that person must have full control over the mind. And if you maintain your status like this, abhito brahma nirvanam vartate vidita atmanam. You get to the stage where you attain brahma nirvanam, means freedom from material miseries. Prabhupada writes it in the purport as Brahma Nirvana means absence of material miseries due to being constantly immersed in the Supreme. Vartate viditatmanam. Abhito means very soon. Abhito Brahma Nirvanam vartate vidita atmanam, one who is practiced like this. So Prabhupada mentions about this kama krodha vimuktanam yatinam. Who, the sages are supposed to be free from kama and krodha. And of all the saintly persons who are constantly engaged in striving towards salvation, one who is in Krishna consciousness is the best of all. So, who is that yati that is being referred to in this verse? Only a perfect Krishna conscious person can be that yati who can control the kama and krodha. Others cannot control. Non Krishna conscious sages, any other spiritual paths which claim that they are liberated or they are free from kama krodha, without being Krishna conscious, it's not possible. And Prabhupada quotes the Shastra in this connection, how that non-Krishna conscious sages cannot claim to be free from kama krodha. So he quotes this, Yat pada pankaja palasa vilasa bhaktya karma shayam grathitamudgradhayanti santaha tadvanna riktamatayo yatayo piruddha Shroto ganastamaranam bhajavasudevam. What it means is a Krishna conscious person who is always taking pleasure from yat pada pankaja palasha. Pada pankaja palasa means Krishna's lotus feet, just like the lotus flower having the petals of a lotus, appears so beautiful. So, one who is taking pleasure in meditating on this beautiful lotus feet and immersed in meditating on those lotus petals of this lotus feet. Vilasa means enjoying, immersed in, relishing that with bhakti, bhaktya, the devotee. They can uproot this karma shayam gratitam udgradhayanti santaha. Santa means the devotees who are engaged in this kind of immersion in Krishna. They can uproot this karma shayam, this strong material desires, The kama that Krishna is pointing to here in this verse, kama krodha vimuktana, one who is freed from this and who can uproot this strong karmashayam, kama, which is grathitam, very strong, and with the roots he'll take it out. The devotee, he can unroot this strong karmashayam from the root so it doesn't even exist anymore. But other processes, tadvan narikta matayo yatayo api, the great sages who are not as engaged in serving the lotus feet of the Lord, they are not able to control these forces of the senses. And they are carried away by this shoto ganaha, by the waves of this kama krodha. We have seen in the history of Vishwamitra, he was a great Kshatriya king, but he wanted to become a Brahmarshi. And he starts to do meditation for a very long time. And he starts to acquire these yogic powers and assets, punya assets. And then Indra becomes concerned. And then he sends his attractive Apsara, Menaka, to deviate Vishwamitra from his meditation. And the moment Vishwamitra, he does not even open his eyes, the moment he hears this ankle bells, that seed in the heart, that enjoyment seed in the heart is sprouted. So that means a Krishna conscious person is able to uproot with the root, so it doesn't exist anymore. Whereas a Gnani or non-Krishna conscious sage can get rid of the external surface, the growth on the external surface, but internally it still remains. Because internally, because he has not developed that attraction towards Krishna, that subtle attraction for Maya still remains. Only one attraction can counteract the other attraction. So he falls for it and he unites with Menaka and he enjoys with her for several years. They even have a beautiful girl, Shakuntala. And then he realizes, oh my God, what have I done? All my assets have been broken by this foolish nonsense, disturbance. I've been deviated by my sensual attraction. And then he realizes and again starts to meditate, again starts to accumulate his assets. And this time again, Indra, he sends another damsel, Rambha, to deviate Vishwamitra. And this time Vishwamitra, he realizes his previous mistake, but then he becomes very angered by Rambha that she had come to disturb his meditation. And out of anger, he curses her and she becomes a stone. And again, he realizes that, oh my God, I have lost my control over anger. As a result, every time you curse, you are giving away, you are parting with many of the assets you have accumulated. It's like a currency. And you curse or you bless somebody, you are giving from your currency. And he realizes, oh my God, I have come under the force of anger. Previously, he came under the force of kama. And then again, he realizes. And again, he starts to go back to his meditation. So finally, of course, Vasishtha realizes or recognizes him as Brahmarshi. So you see how the great sages, after performing austerities, penances, and meditation for so long, It's very difficult to overcome the forces of kama krodha. We have several examples. Durvasa Muni, he became easily angered when Ambarish Maharaj merely took water to break his fast before Durvasa Muni came back to honor his meal. And he wanted to kill Ambarish Maharaj as a punishment. But Ambarish Maharaj, being completely immersed in Krishna, he was unfazed. He didn't even flinch. If it was Krishna's will, if it is Krishna's will, let the demon come and kill me. Like Prahlad Maharaj. He was totally unfazed. Just imagine a small boy becoming completely secure in his mind. Haridas Thakur, he was threatened to be beaten and killed if he continued his chanting. But he didn't lose his sanity. He was completely immersed in thought. Even when he was being beaten mercilessly, dragged in these 21 marketplaces. So when you are immersed in Krishna, you can overcome these material disturbances. When you are absorbed in a, a thought which you are consumed by, then other things won't disturb you. Even materially, it's possible. Like you, for example, somebody is trying and gets the visa to go to America. Just giving an example. Then he becomes so happy for the next 1 week, whatever happens, he won't be disturbed. He is in that state of mind. Of course, in the material world, we always come down. We become adjusted to everything. Again, Maya attacks us with all miseries. So, just like that, the other example Prabhupada gives is there was this dictator, I believe, Stalin. He was so absorbed in his cause he was fighting for that he said he had to be operated once. Surgery had to be done somewhere in his body, and they had to numb. Obviously, surgery means they have to cut and open and do some repair. And he said, "No, you go on, all right. I don't mind. I don't want to be numbed." So he didn't even feel what was going on in his body because he was absorbed in his mission. So, likewise, here Prabhupada gives a beautiful example. Brahma Nirvana means only a person who uh, he does not feel the pangs of material miseries. This state of life is called Brahma Nirvana, or the absence of material miseries due to being constantly immersed in the Supreme. And he gives a beautiful natural examples. So very revealing examples that which we may not know. It seems this fish and the tortoise and the birds, how they maintain their offspring. The fish brings up its offspring simply by looking at them, it seems. And the tortoise brings up its offspring simply by meditation. The eggs of the tortoise are laid on the land, and the tortoise meditates on the eggs while in the water. So, if it's possible materially, so Prabhupada explains, similarly, a devotee in Krishna consciousness, although far away from the Lord's abode, can elevate himself to that abode simply by thinking of him constantly. So, the constant thought process on Krishna makes us immersed in Krishna thought, that everything else becomes trivial. This world, usually people they pray for becoming problem free in this world. But I tell you why it's not possible. Because this world is like entering a freeway. Everybody who drives have this experience. At least I had this experience. When I learned the car and I was about to enter the freeway, the first time I was driving in America, it was as if I was entering a battlefield. The cars were racing around, and then slowly I'm entering, and I don't have a choice but to drive at that speed and compete and maintain my speed and maneuver. And it's like you have to enter the battlefield, you have to fight, isn't it? You cannot sit silent. So we chose, so this freeway is like this material world, and we chose to come to this material world against the wish of Krishna. We were with Krishna. And when we come to this world, we have to face all this, the honkings, the people cutting across, or even causing accidents, getting hit. This is all part and parcel of driving, isn't it? And if you say, no, I don't want any other cars, I want all the road by myself. How is it possible? So asking God for a problem-free life is like that. You cannot stay in the material world at the same time have problem-free life. This, because material world is like the freeway designed to be full of problems, full of cars. So every day there is going to be one thing or the other that is always being thrown at you. So asking for God for a problem-free life, that can only happen in spiritual world. So you can only ask God, take me back home, back to Godhead, where I want to serve you, which I forgot now. Only then you can become free from problems. So while in this material world, we should not seek from a problem-free life, but a purpose-filled life. The purpose is how I can engage in the Krishna consciousness movement and push on this Krishna consciousness movement by which I can satisfy, please my spiritual master. And if he is pleased, Krishna is pleased. Yasya prasadad bhagavat prasado, yasya prasadad nagati kutopi. And when you are absorbed in that purpose, then nothing can disturb you. When you're filled with a purposeful life, then the problems automatically vanish, even though they may appear. As Krishna says in the second chapter, Apuryamanam machala pratishtham samudramapah pravishanti yadvat tadvat kamayam pravishanti sarve sashanti mapnoti nakamakami. So this, a devotee should be like an ocean, very grave and deep and undisturbed, even though there are many streams of rivers coming and joining and bombarding this ocean. The ocean always remains full. It doesn't become changed, it doesn't become disturbed. So when life throws different things at us which are not in our control, we cannot control things that are thrown at us. Life comes up with in the form of different people, different situations, different circumstances. But when we are in always touch with Krishna, we can be confident that Krishna can guide me how to handle. So don't tell God how big a problem you have. Tell that problem how big a God you have. So Here, Prabhupada beautifully summarizes that in the purport. So, the idea of Krishna consciousness is we have to cleanse our heart first before we can get to that stage. As Chaitanya Mahaprabhu exemplified by his all his activities, particularly by his activity of cleansing this Gundicha temple. Before Jagannath Radha Jagannath comes in his Radha and is seated in this Gundicha temple from his main temple. The day before is called Gundicha Marjana. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was personally giving instructions on how to receive Krishna within our heart. So we have to first cleanse our heart, just like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the devotees cleansed the temple and the altar of Gundicha temple so that Krishna can be seated there. So if one wants to see Krishna always in our hearts, we must cleanse our heart as prescribed by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Cheto darpanamarjanam bhavamaha davagni nirvapanam Shreyah Kairava Chandrika Vitaranam Vidyavadhu Jivanam. So that mirror of our hearts has to be cleansed. And when Chaitanya, so that service you do for Krishna, it's like cleansing that heart. And after the first round of cleansing, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he went and surveyed and then again found lot of dirt. Then again he had them cleansed. So those subtle dirts are compared to like the subtle anarthas, which are not very easy to find, even in devotional service. The subtle anarthas for labha, puja, pratishtha means to get something in return for my service, to be recognized, to get a position, these kind of things. They are not very easy to recognize. So we have to be watchful in the association of devotees. And when we serve, those subtle contaminations gradually be removed. So this is for those who don't have much service opportunity. One may say, oh, I don't have much service opportunity. No, chanting is also service. That's a primary service. Hearing about Krishna is an important service, without which, that is the pillar, without which all other activities will fall apart. Hearing and chanting. Shravanam Kirtanam, very important. So ultimately, Krishna consciousness is very easy. One time, a devotee, he was asking Prabhupada, he was in the room, Prabhupada was chanting. And he went to Prabhupada and asked, Prabhupada, you are such a pure devotee, and I am such a fool, and I am in this condition. And I wonder, it is so difficult to become a pure devotee like you. And Prabhupada, he was looking at him and, oh, is it difficult? He was as if, what are you talking about? And and then he explained again. The devotee explained his question again. And then Prabhupada said, difficult? It is easy. And then he said, all we have to do is agree with Krishna. All we have to do is agree with Krishna. So the statement may be as simple as that, but actually, our real problem is we don't agree with Krishna. Krishna says, you give up this and take this. No, I don't, I want to do this. All we have to do is agree with Krishna. Krishna's statements in Bhagavad Gita. Prabhupada's statements in the purports, his instructions. Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Chittete Koriya Aikya. The instructions of Guru, we have to make it one with our heart. Chittete Koriya Aikya. And Arana Koriho Mane Asha. You should not harbor anything else. Then Prema Bhakti Jaha Hoite Avidya Vinashayate. That brings the Prema Bhakti. In other words, the Prema Bhakti, Krishna Prema, is not something which is euphoria or esoteric that is obtained by those who are great learned scholars or great saintly persons going to Himalayas or in places like Vrindavan or something. No, anybody who serves the spiritual master and agrees with him, which is agreeing with Krishna, and the spiritual master releases that Prema Bhakti. I'll stop here. Anyone has any questions or comments? Bhagavad Gita as it is ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Sadar Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Please accept my humble obeisances.